No matter how you look at it, aiming is one of the most important skills in Valorant. You can have good decision making, utility usage, and coordination, but if your aim isn't there, you're probably going to still struggle. So, in this video, I'm going to be giving you 8 massive tips that'll help improve your aim. But first, I just wanted to highlight a few of the website subscribers who have made some massive improvements recently. Over at SkillCapped.com, we have tons of courses tailored specifically to helping players just like you improve. If you want to hear more, be sure to stick around till the end of the video. The first tip I want to give you is to practice only moving your mouse horizontally. Now, of course, on maps with a ton of elevation, this isn't always going to be the best way to play the game, but in a lot of cases, just being able to keep your crosshair at the same level is a great way to hit more headshots. Get into the practice range and just practice walking around a bot and keeping your crosshair on the enemy's head, or play on easy or medium bots and just focus on only moving that crosshair left and right. Once you're able to make this second nature to where you don't have to think about it in your games, you're going to find a ton of success. The second tip I want to give you guys is to adjust your sensitivity. If this isn't something you've looked into, then your sensitivity is probably not where it should be. When choosing a sensitivity to play on, you want to find something that's both comfortable and it doesn't sacrifice your consistency when trying to hit shots. Now, in terms of numbers, a good starting point is somewhere around 240 EDPI. That equates to a DPI of 800 and an in-game sensitivity of 0.3. From there, you can see what works for you. One thing to keep in mind though is if your sensitivity is really high, this change might feel a little bit awkward at first, and that's okay. Just know that it's normal and you have to give it some time until you're comfortable. If the jump feels too great, you can always incrementally lower your sensitivity over time until you get there, making that drop in sensitivity feel a little more natural. But having too high of a sensitivity is a big reason why a lot of players struggle with their aim. And telling yourself that's what you prefer to play on is likely a reason why you're struggling. The next couple of tips I'm going to give you will help you with your crosshair placement when you're actually in your games. Now, the first of those tips is to use markers around the map to help get your crosshair to head level. There are tons of boxes and lines painted on walls everywhere that are approximately at head level, so you can use these to your advantage. Line your crosshair up at the right level to help you hit that headshot. This doesn't work everywhere, however, since there are some places where there just aren't any markers you can use. And those cases are exactly why I have the next tip on this list, which is to use your teammates to help you find head level. In Valorant, you can always see your teammates through the walls, so why not use them as a marker for where your crosshair should be? Every single agent in Valorant is the same height, so you can place your crosshair on a teammate's head and then use that as a guide for how high your crosshair should be when you're holding an angle. Over time, just by playing the game and using these 2 tips, you're going to start to slowly be able to guesstimate where head level is. But if you're struggling to hit headshots consistently, then start off by using these tips until you get the hang of it. It's a fantastic way to improve that headshot percentage. Now that your crosshair's in the right place, the next tip I want to give you guys is to unbind your crouch key. Crouching isn't always bad. There are definitely some uses for it. Being able to crouch behind a box to catch players off guard with a shotgun on save rounds, or as a way to improve your bullet spread when spraying through a smoke, just to give a few examples. The big problem I tend to see though is a lot of players aren't using it for those reasons. Instead, they're just crouching every single time they get into a gunfight. Of course, this doesn't apply to everyone. However, there are so many players I see that have really good crosshair placement, aiming perfectly at the head, but at the last second, instinctively hit their crouch key and whiff their shot because of it. Randomly crouching is a really bad habit, and it's really difficult to break. So, in my opinion, it's a lot easier to just unbind the key altogether, or even change the binding to a key that's not so easily accessible just to stop you from crouching involuntarily. The next aiming tip I'm going to give you guys is to pre-aim corners whenever you can. This means both holding angles with your crosshair at head level, ready to go in case an enemy swings on you, but it also means you should have your crosshair pre-aimed when you intend to swing as well. To do this, imagine the angle you're about to peek through the wall. Hold your crosshair on the wall so when you swing, your crosshair will be exactly where you want it. When starting out, this can be hard to visualize, so a quick bonus tip you can use to make this just a little bit easier: ping the angle you're about to peek on the map. This allows you to use that ping as a marker through the wall to ensure you're doing it properly. Honestly, most of aiming isn't actually raw aim itself, but instead it's just putting yourself in situations where hitting that shot is a little easier to begin with. We've almost gone through the list, but there's still 2 more tips to go. The first of those tips is to tap or burst fire instead of spraying when you get in a gunfight. Sometimes your crosshair is in the right place, but your first bullet just hits the shoulder instead of their head. Or maybe you just panic when you're taking a shot, and this causes you to rush and miss. Either way, you need to take your time with your shots and just focus on tap firing 1 bullet at a time or shooting in small bursts of 3 to 4 rounds. You might be surprised, but this is going to do a lot for your aim. Not only will it help you take your time with your shots, but it'll also help you not lose gunfights due to your bullet spread. Bullet spread in Valorant can be unpredictable. Sometimes you're not going to hit a single bullet, and other times you're going to lotto someone in the head. But getting lucky isn't something you want to rely on when trying to climb up the ladder. So, by keeping your firing to small bursts, you're going to be able to decrease the luck factor involved in your shots and have a more guaranteed chance to secure that kill. And finally, let's move on to the last massive tip that's going to help you improve your aim, and that is just to be more confident. Honestly, it's a much bigger deal than you might think. Having confidence to take gunfights will really help your aim. It's kind of like a positive feedback loop. You're confident in your aim, so you take more gunfights, and because you're taking more gunfights, your aim improves. If you continually play scared and refuse to take fights, you're never going to be able to practice any of the skills I've talked about so far in this video. Personally, I've noticed a huge difference in my headshot percentage on days where I'm just feeling confident in my ability to play the game, as opposed to days where I'm just not feeling it. You can also think about playing on an alternate account where you're not as scared to lose RR just to practice taking those aggressive fights. This is something that definitely takes time to build up, but it really does help a ton in the long run. So, if you find yourself lacking confidence in your games, just remember it's a game, and there's nothing wrong with trying to make a play. And that's it for this video on 8 massive tips that'll help you improve your aim instantly. I hope this guide helped you guys out a little and gave you some ideas on how you can make improvements to your aim. And if you guys enjoyed the video and made it all the way to the end, please don't forget to leave a like. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We post tons of guides every week just like this one to help you improve at the game. And, as always, all of us here at SkillCapped want to give a huge thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.